Changes and injuries have come for the Pacers. TJ McConnell's going to miss a month or more with his hamstring injury. What does that mean for the Pacers? Delon Wright out, Cam Payne in. How does that change things? How does Quentin Jackson figure in? And OKC, the Pacers' next opponent. Eddie Garrison joins us to talk about it all today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Congrats. You made it through the week, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today, changes galore at point guard. TJ McConnell's hamstring injury will keep him out for a month plus. What does that mean for the Pacers? How can they possibly pivot? Well, one of those pivots was in a move they made. Delon Wright goes out after he gets hurt. No suggest that they're correlated, but possibly. Cam Payne in. How does that change things? They need a backup point guard now, not a third string guy. So where does Quentin Jackson figure into all this? What could be coming even in the future at the position? Oh, what a doozy. Haliburton's out. Cam Jones is out. TJ McConnell's out. Delon Wright is off the team. Yikes. Eddie Garrison from 107.5, the Fan of the Pacers Radio Network. Join us to talk about all of it today. And we also talk a little bit about the OKC game, the center rotation at the end here. Loaded show. Let's just get right to it. TJ McConnell's out a month. Yikes. Cam Jones is already hurt. Delon Wright gets hurt and now is gone. Tyrese Haliburton is obviously out for the season. Oh, boy. The point guard situation is getting thin, fast for the Pacers. Cam Payne is in. A lot to digest and discuss. Questions about other players, Quentin Jackson from fans. And we're going to get to it all today with Eddie Garrison from the Pacers Radio Network, from 107.5 The Fan. And most importantly, a man that knows with two outs, you throw the ball to first. Eddie, how are you?
I'm good. And yes, I do. Yeah. Especially even after the bobble, you've got to stick with it and just throw it over to first. Like Real Muto was telling him, I don't know what he's doing.
Dude, if you don't bobble and throw home, it's dumb. But like, I get it. It's a short throw. Eddie's totally a Reds fan. I'm a Phillies fan. We both hate the Dodgers. We're both very upset.
Yes.
I don't know who I'm rooting for now. I hope it's Blue Jays Mariners, and I can just root for whoever wins that series. Okay, let's talk about the Pacers. No one cares about our baseball thoughts. The biggest news, I would say, of the point guard newsy day that was Thursday is TJ McConnell is going to miss at least a month. I need to be clear about that. I've already seen the 1 month thing. November 9th is already 10 games into the Pacers season, right? So he's missing at least 12.5% of the season, if not more, for the Pacers this year already. And I would guess possibly even slightly more than that. Like, look, this is just straight up not good. They already were down Tyrese Haliburton. He was going to be more important, even if his minutes outlook, I would say, is going to be similar in whatever this season's going to be. That bench works because of him. He's built great chemistry with Shepherd and Toppin. He can make any guy work with him because of the way he nashes and gets in the paint and all that stuff. Eddie, am I overstating this loss? This just feels like such a huge deal for the Pacers. The season hasn't even started yet.
No, it is a huge deal, Tony, because of the reasons that you just laid out there. And plus, what if Andrew Nembhard gets in foul trouble or he needs a night off? Yeah. Now you, especially early. Well, I hope he doesn't need a night off in the first month of the season. But if he gets into foul trouble, what happens if he gets hurt? Now what has happened there at the point guard position? So yeah, obviously a huge loss. And I think the other part too, Tony, obviously him as a player in terms of what he's built, in terms of his role with the Pacers, offensively, defensively, and with that second unit. But his energy, like that energy that he brings on a nightly basis, surely is going to be missed, I think, just as much as his on-court production.
Yeah, how many times at home games is it like a tight game and then TJ McConnell does two TJ McConnell things and the crowd's hype and the Pacers are up 7 all of a sudden, right? Like that stuff really matters and is now missing for, however many, 10, 15, for the Pacers. They'd say, God willing, not more than that, but number of games to start the season. And like it stinks for many reasons, but it's such a layered timing that it's hard not to talk about the other injuries at the same time. I really want to focus on this. But like also their third string guy they hoped to have got hurt in the same game, the same quarter of that game, right? Or no, Delon Wright got hurt in the third quarter, the next quarter of the same game, right? Like just brutal thing after brutal thing happened in that game. And that made it even worse because even if no one, it doesn't seem like many fans were psyched about Wright, and like his offensive impact was surely low. He didn't look great in Fan Jam or against Minnesota on offense, but like he's a veteran, living, breathing guy. If he's your third guy and his appeal to me what I've talked about the most with him is that he can play two. He's 6'5" and had done it next to other good point guards before. Like, that's fine. That at least lets them structure their rotation the way they went before. He would not have been as good as their backup one, but like whatever. But once you lose McConnell, you can't play 2 point guards together anymore. You need a totally new guy running your second and first unit. All of a sudden, like, you have new point guards on both lines. It just really quickly changed things. And then the guy they had throughout the first week and a half of camp also got hurt the same day. Like, it was just an absolute mess of a day. And look, even last year when the Pacers bench was just straight up not as good. Like, it was their superpower a few years ago. Last year was still down. Their net rating with McConnell on the floor was still less than, it was negative 0.99. That's not good. It's below 0, to be clear. But like, for a reserve unit, if you're like keeping it close most nights, and they were much improved from the start of the season, that's good enough when your starters are really good. Their starters are not going to be as good this year. So they needed that bench group to be as good as possible. And it just took a huge hit. He's been, among their, if not their best bench players the last couple of years. And now they enter the season down 3 of their top 7 players from last season. Like, it's just, it's getting tough, especially when it's already at a position they're missing a guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to wonder, like, does Jarris Walker take over more of a point guard role for the Pacers now because of his, his background in high school being a point guard? Who was the other guy that they had that was there for like 24 hours and he had left after the calf injury? It was another point guard.
Monte Morris.
Yes, Monte Morris. I totally forgot about Monte Morris. But, like, is that just going to be the thing this year for them? Like, is it just going to be guard injury after guard injury after guard injury? Like, my goodness.
You're on the Fever Network too, Eddie. We just went through this, right?
Yeah, oh my gosh.
We just saw a million of these for a different team too. Some curse of the ones right now going on in Indy, but if they could, like, not that they'd have been thrilled about it, but like, you elevate Wright and then you don't have to like immediately make changes at the one, but to lose another guy at the same spot was brutal. My imagination is that a player they just signed will be at least figuring into the mix to be their backup point guard right away. We'll get to the signing of Cam Payne in a second. But yeah, you talked about Jarris. Like, I actually thought one of my takeaways that was like a little gritted teeth, not great thing for the Pacers from that first preseason game is in overtime, Minnesota had no centers on the floor. So Rick put Jarris back in, and he was kind of their lead ball handler. It was him and Ray J. Dennis, and it did not look good for Jarris. And I'm not saying that like that's a bad thing. I didn't expect him to have many lead ball handling reps this year, but now all of a sudden it's like, oh, maybe they would like to experiment with that a little bit. And the first dose of it, albeit with the lineup that like nobody played well and looked mostly bad altogether, did not look very good, right? And so they might have to stagger differently with Siakam Nembhard than they originally planned. They might just need one of their reserve guards, which we'll get to in just a second, to be better. But it is certainly a big hit, especially just like last year, losing all the centers to start the season. Like, they're losing all these guys at the same spot. Like, when Ben Shepherd comes back, all of their injuries, because by the way, you know who could have been the answer? Cam Jones. He's also hurt right now, right? Like, they just keep losing all their experience and bodies at the same spot. It's the same thing as last season in a different position.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I guess the one like benefit of the Pacers have with their style of play, Tony, and I don't know if they were going to lean into it as much as they did at least last year, and at least with Tyrese, is that just the free-flowing nature of it. It doesn't really require a point guard all that much, but at the same time, it does just to get the whole thing started. So it's going to be fascinating to see how they get it all going offensively, especially with the second unit. And as you mentioned, they'll probably have to figure out how they want to stagger Nembhard and Siakam together. And does Quentin Jackson all of a sudden become a bigger player within the rotation? And I know there's a lot of fans out there that would want it because he does provide a lot of energy when he's out there sometimes.
You just got to the second point in my notes. Thank you, Eddie. Great transition. Eddie Garrison, who did not even know I had that. So I talked about this after the Minnesota game a little bit, and I've talked about it at times this offseason. So Cam Payne, I think, he's differently skilled than Delon Wright. He's a better offensive player, but a worse defender. I would say on balance, maybe like a smidge worse, but like could be better. I think he might be a better style fit for the Pacers. We'll see. Regardless of that, like, they are, at a point now where fans are right to wonder, like, is Quentin Jackson just better than these guys? So I hear that question. Let me say the same thing I have to say every time. Quentin Jackson is already on the team. Like, the reason they would convert Quentin's contract, and I've talked about this a lot, to be clear, I'm like, maybe I'm guilty of not explaining what the benefit of this well enough. the benefit is not necessarily to have him play more for the Pacers, although he does have a 50-game cap on his two-way, but they could convert his deal in January at the trade deadline, whenever. The appeal is it opens up a two-way spot instead, right? So you can get someone else onto your team instead. Now, there's less two-way eligible players than other positions, but like that could be the way they solve their center situation, where they like might need a fourth center because two guys are coming off Achilles tears. That's always been the appeal to me, not necessarily because if they wanted him to be the backup, they could do that right now, even on his two-way, right? The benefit would be to get like a two-way center on their team. So I think people are misinterpreting the actual benefit of doing that, because I do still think right now Quentin Jackson could be heard from as like, if he plays well, yeah, be the backup. Like he looked solid in Minnesota. He's so fast. He played well enough when given chances last year. There'll be questions about his night in, night out ability to be a one, but that's the next thing, because before they signed Cam Payne, and granted, we learned that they waived Delon Wright and signed Cam Payne in the same press release. Like I was thinking, man, like Quentin is their backup right now, right? He's two. He's on the second unit. Ray J. Dennis is the third unit. So we'll see if Cam Payne looks good enough or gets up to speed fast enough to shake that. We'll get to Cam Payne specifics in a second, but Q will be heard from. I think he should. The other question I think people had that at this point, I guess, was fair was about trades. Is this the point where they trade? Because the difference between what's been discussed with Monte Morris and Delon Wright and such was no longer are they searching for a veteran for their third point guard role. It's the backup, the second point guard role. So on one hand, I don't think that should be your first priority, is make a trade. If you don't have to give up assets, don't, right? That's why they tried Moses Brown last year instead. They were like, we're going to wait as long as possible to give up this second round swap to get a better player. And they literally couldn't trade for Thomas Bryant until December, but like they could, whatever, you get what I'm saying. So I get the resistance to not doing that if you don't have to, especially if there's an available player who's good enough. But they are at the point now where they're till, at some point in the season, Quentin Jackson and Cam Payne are now their backup ones. So there's still a lot for them to consider at the spot. They haven't, depending on how good Cam Payne is, I think they might have enough right now. And I've just been talking for like 3 straight minutes, Eddie. I'm sorry. But their rotational shift at the backup at one not only is different than, okay, it's not just out goes Delon Wright, in comes Cam Payne. It's, they're now the backup for like a not insignificant amount of part of your season. So it does change the thinking a lot. But one, I need people to understand the benefit of converting Q. It's not just to have him play. He can play now. And two, they do need to have a different rubric for what they're signing now, because it's not just to be a depth piece. It's like, you're playing, dude. Get out there. Everybody, quick break to talk about PrizePicks. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season, because with PrizePicks, it's good to be right. PrizePicks is fun, a simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown, and you're in. It's quick. You can pick your lineup in under a minute. They just added stacks, so you can let it ride with a player. You can select their pass yards, rush yards, and touchdown all in one lineup. You can follow other players in the app and copy their lineups. And of course, their injury reboot feature. If your player leaves early, doesn't return, it will not count against you. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code LOCKDOWNNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKDOWNNBA for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right.
Yeah. And anyway, Tony, like, where are they at in terms of cap? Like, I don't know what that would look like either from a backup point guard position with where they're at right now.
Yeah, their caps are the same right now, technically, as it has been the whole time, because camp deals don't count against your cap till you make the team. So, like, right, if he was waived for injury reasons, he'll get like a small payout from the Pacers, but there's no cap hit that comes with that. Same, they announced it as a camp deal for Payne. The same thing would come with that. So they'll have something like $7 million shy of the tax, which is that's enough to keep 15 players. They will be keeping 15. It's just, who's it going to be? And I think we've seen enough from the centers health-wise right now to make me, especially now that McConnell's hurt. I made this case yesterday. I think that seeing the injuries made me realize how much more they need their 15th guy to be a point guard. Now that McConnell's down, it has to be. Cam Payne, if he's healthy, is going to be on the team. And if he plays well, I guess he could suck. So cap-wise, they're fine, and they have room to make a trade if they need to, but I think they'll just hope that it's, yes, Cam Payne, you're good enough. Thank God. Because
I look at the Lakers, for example, and they've got Gabe Vincent, they've got Marcus Smart, they've got obviously Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves, and they signed Jake LaRavia. So like they have a bunch of guys that can handle the basketball. Like I don't know if that would be an option.
Bronny.
Games. Yeah, and Bronny too. But I don't think Bronny's not leaving Los Angeles. Let's be honest. So I was just kind of trying to think like veteran guys that could just come in right away. It'd be a nice addition to the roster. Guy that's going to be solid on a night-to-night basis. Like if you wanted to spell some time for TJ throughout the year or Andrew throughout the year as well, like Gabe Vincent's okay. Like he can get you by.
Yeah, I had somebody tweet me, Io Desunmu. Like I could run through trade options if I needed to. I'm going to hold off on that for now. The difference between the center thing that I mentioned about last year and this is the centers they had in their first 5 games were both immediately out for the season. Like McConnell's not out for the season. He's going to play again at some point. So it's not like exactly the same where they're like, oh my God, we need a guy and he's going to play 60 games or whatever. But it's a lot, man. It's a lot of immediate ripple effects. But it does suck for Delon Wright, who, like, again, he did not look great offensively. He could get across half court handling, and then it was like, oh boy. But if that's how he lost a chance to make a team that went up for like a quarter and then went way down when he got hurt, it's a huge bummer for him. So I don't know where I stand on the like Cam Payne's experience versus Quentin Jackson's existence. And a lot of the knock on Jackson playing the one is like, is he a true one? How good of a passer is he? Like Cam Payne's a fine passer. We'll dive into him more, but I would like to – Cam Payne average 5 assists a game a couple times this year. I would like to see them at least see if Q can take the spot, but I would imagine that Cam Payne has the inside track to be the backup if he plays well enough until McConnell gets back. Do you have any other thoughts on any players in this mix before we just straight up talk about Cam Payne?
Not really. I think we've covered it, especially you, pretty well.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I invited Eddie on to listen to me yell.
That's okay. You're airing out your frustrations. It's okay. I'm
not frustrated at anything. I hate when people.
You're specifically frustrated with the Phillies.
I'm really mad at the Phillies. Yes, one run is embarrassing. I'm also mad when like people say like, "Oh, why aren't the pitchers doing this thing?" And I've talked about it a lot, and I'm like, I'm either explaining this poorly, or people who interact with me frequently are lying about how much they consume. What I'm actually saying. I said why the Quentin Jackson thing is what it is, and people are like, "Well, why would they convert him now?" I'm like, no, I said it. I swear I've said this before. Apparently, it's not. What's the Justin Bieber thing? It's not clocking. It's not clocking. But he's on the team. Like, if they want him to be back, he could be. And if they love Ray J. Dennis, who they kept, he's also like, whatever. Okay. They still, even if they love Quentin Jackson and Ray J. Dennis, they still needed somebody when Delon Wright went down. Hello, Cam Payne, who has the goofiest looking jumper that goes in enough. I mean, above/right about league average from 3 for the last like 5 seasons. Really exploded with Phoenix in those bubble seasons. Was in and then out of the rotation, ironically, in favor of Delon Wright in the conference finals for the Knicks last year. Was a beast in winning them a game against Detroit in the first round, if people remember that earlier this year. So certainly a, let's say, streaky player. I had a person tweet at me and use the word mercurial, which I thought was perfect as a description for Cam Payne. Can be awesome, win you some games, can also be like, oh boy. Do you have any long-standing opinions of Cam Payne? What do you think of the fit? Because it's way different from a skill set perspective than Delon Wright.
I think he can. Obviously, the fit is going to be no issue. I mean, he can shoot. I think he's a guy that can get up and down the floor and play with the quickness that they want to play with. Like you said, the jump shot is funky, and he goes through these stretches where like he can be really good. And you're like, oh heck yeah, let's go, let's ride. And then there's stretches where you're like, get this guy off the floor. Like, he touches the basketball and it goes up. And next thing you know, it's hitting the side of the backboard, or it's hitting like if they had the foam padding underneath on the bottom, it's hitting that instead of the actual rim. Like those are just kind of the stretches of play that you get out of Cam Payne. But I think it's for the time being, he'll be a good third option that they have, and a guy that's good. He's another one of those too, Tony, that could provide some energy just the way he plays sometimes. Yes. That he does feed off the crowd a little bit, and he'll play into the crowd. So it'll be interesting to see how they integrate him. Another guy that, they could look at are 2 guys, I should say. Gennaro Pargo and Eddie Gill, both on payroll already.
In the building every day, too. Yeah. That's right. And every time I see JP, like, I think he might not even be 40 yet, or he might be just 40. I'm like, man, he could still, like, can he get a 10-day just to prove it? He's still like he's got something.
Gennaro Pargo is 45, by the way.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. I don't know who I'm thinking of. Yeah, okay. Congratulations, General Pargo. My bad. Okay. The thing, so let's zoom back out to Delon for a second, because like Cam loses from Delon one of his key abilities, which was played the two, right? Delon Wright played next to Trey, played next to Van Vliet, played next to Lowry, blah, blah, blah. And so that with his defense was like, here's why that makes sense for the Pacers ability for him, because if they wanted to play 2 point guards together, which they've done a lot before, he could either do that or just be a solid defender if he was by himself. You don't get that with Cam Payne. Like Cam Payne should not play the two. Just shouldn't be a lineup that frequently happens. So it's still good to have him if McConnell and Nembhard play together and you need a third point guard, or of course for the things you said earlier with foul trouble when the team is fully healthy, to be clear. Like right now they obviously need him maybe immediately. He's a good enough passer and kind of initiator. He does have microwave score tendencies, but it's not like when he's off it. There are some nights like you mentioned where it's like, oh boy, he's 42% from the field for his career. He makes enough threes that's like a little misleading because he takes a lot of deep jumpers, but like that's not that healthy of a shooting percentage. So he's not. He certainly fits their style, I think, better than Delon Wright. Like he'll move around offensively, get to spots, put the ball in the basket every so often, but they lose some positional versatility, and they lose what I think, not lose, like his passing is good enough. Like my pitch for them needing a third point guard for a while was basically, even if it's a terrible season and you shift into development mode, if you have a guy who can set up your young guys, that's still valuable. It's helping them develop to have a good floor general. Mm-hmm. And so that's why Monte Morris made so much sense to me. And of course, a good third point guard would help you win games. So whatever path you pick, they're helpful. Cam Payne is maybe like either just below what I would consider, like, yes, he's helping young guys with his passing, or maybe like the worst guy that it's like, yeah, this is good enough, right? He's like right on the line where it's like, man, just play a young guy at that point and see what happens. So I reserve the right to change opinions, but I just want to see him play, right? With this team to know how that's going to look. Because if it's like, oh, the passing is just not there for him in the system, then it won't be great for that. But the rubric changed. He's not their third point guard right now. They need him to be the backup right away. So the demands of what is asked of him are significantly different than what the discussion has been around this guy or this spot on the team for like months. One more break here, everybody. We got to talk about two great groups of people. First up, FanDuel. The NFL season is here. The Eagles stink now, apparently, for a week, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss right now. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet. Put down just $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So many people love using FanDuel for many different reasons, including the many ways they have to play, like building parlays, following live lines during games, trying their player props. It makes watching football more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com or the app today to get started. We also very need to quickly talk about Quo. One of the tools that helps make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly Open Phone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, but they have a new name, and here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is that, the number one business phone system. They streamline customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or computer, so no more carrying two phones or relying on a landline. Quo, formerly known as Open Phone, lets your team share one number, collaborate on calls and texts just like a shared inbox. So no customer gets left hanging. They have a built-in AI agent. It's a game changer. It can answer after-hours calls, capture leads, keep businesses moving. Whether you're a solo operator juggling everything or part of a larger team, Quo makes it easy to stay responsive and professional. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo. Get started free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. If you've got an existing number with another service, Quo will port it over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers.
I just wonder, like you mentioned, like how is he going to be able to set up? Because the way that was pretty much all McConnell did. Wait, did Cam Payne and Obi Toppin play together? I don't think they have, but like those two could be a fun combo.
So. I will say one funny thing about this is he played for the Bucks on the in-season tournament team that played the Pacers in Vegas, and then the Knicks last year. Delon Wright was obviously on both the Bucks and Knicks last year. They're just keeping the rivalry alive. Miles Turner, Cam Payne, Delon Wright, ships passing in the night.
Who's the next one? Who would be the next one then?
Who's played for both of those teams? Jericho Sims, right? He was a part of the Bucks trade for Wright. There we go.
Good call.
I don't know how I remembered that. That's kind of embarrassing.
That is kind of good though. That's a poll, all right.
That's right. Cam Payne's had some good moments. He was a lottery pick. He worked out for the Pacers before his draft in 2015. I remember his first trade. He got traded for Doug McDermott. Good times. Swapping.
Murray State guy, right?
Murray State guy, yes. John Morant will not hold the only Murray State player crown for even longer. Cam Payne is holding his spot down in the NBA. Still, he's ready to go. Like he certainly looked in basketball shape. You always wonder this with guys signed during camp, but he's working out all summer in New York. He was about to have to move to his permanent residence in Phoenix. Psych! Indiana he goes. So this one, like the boring answer, Eddie, everybody wants us to have answers. Like we kind of just got to see him play, right?
Yeah.
If he is a system fit, because that in theory is there. He can play with speed. He is quick with the ball. If he's a system fit, this will look okay. But he's right at the line where I'm like, just look at Q, or like, he's not so helpful for development that you're married to him. But again, I should add this. It's a camp deal, and it's probably non-guaranteed. So, like, even if he's on the team to start the season, if he stinks, great. Cut him, move on, try somebody else. Do the trade thing you all are saying. Like, this could still change at some point, and that's why seeing him play will be critical. But
I mean, it's just nice to have an extra body around, right? Like, you can't hurt anything besides, you can't hurt anything by having him around. Like, he's going to help take some time and minutes away from other players. It lets you evaluate if he's still got it. It's still got what it takes to be a role player in the NBA. And hey, you never know what could happen.
Yeah, and like, let's just do like the maybe not worst case scenario, but the devil's advocate part. Like, they're in training camp right now. They need teams of 5 to play and practice right now. Like, you need a point guard for that, right? Even if he doesn't make the team. So that even that is important. So I think it made. If I knew Delon Wright would have gotten waived, and I predicted that was possible on yesterday's podcast, if I knew it for sure, I would have said, yes, they need to sign another point guard like immediately, even if it's not somebody who's going to make the team. Just camp bodies, preseason game person with a pulse to dribble and make stuff happen. So we'll see what the choices they make rotationally come Saturday. And we'll see if Q keeps playing well. Q had a good first preseason game. And we'll see what Payne does. If Payne is good, it might make these discussions easier. But I don't think I have anything else on this unless you do. Huge bummer for TJ McConnell, who was just fantastic to close last season. That sucks for him. He was awesome too in Minnesota.
I went to Fan Jam on Sunday or last Sunday, whenever that was.
Yeah, Eddie had better seats than me somehow.
No, I didn't. You were courtside.
You too.
I guess technically, but I was in the stands. I was looking out there. I was watching when I was like, is that George Niang? And it was like Gabe McLaughlin. I was like, what in the world? That's like a clone of George Niang.
They do look very similar. Gabe McLaughlin was a monster on the glass in a preseason game.
I brought up Fan Jam to say this. Like, I thought, granted, you're going up against your own guys and you're not going at 100% and you're not going at game speed or whatever. I thought Quentin Jackson even looked good in Fan Jam too. He
looked better than Delon in that game, I think.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Now granted, Quentin Jackson's been with the Pacers since 2023, and Delon Wright had been with the team for 7 days at that point. Like, it's a little different. But even in the preseason game, like, Wright's, it was the same thing as Fan Jam. Wright's defense was good. He had 3 steals. He was getting his hands on the ball, but his offense, you're like, you're not really moving around that well.
A lot to be desired there for sure.
Yeah. But Q is like, sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, this is like, how is this a two-way player? He's so good. And then there's other possessions. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you standing guarding nobody? So we'll see. This is the last season of Jackson's 2A eligibility. So if he wants to fight for a standard spot, like, he could be locked in, man. We'll see. Or maybe he just gets it by playing well. Okay. We have a couple more minutes, Eddie.
I won't forget his 21-point performance against Cleveland in the regular season either.
My favorite Quentin Jackson game was in Houston. He had 24, 10 for 12 from the field. Right. They lost the game. It was very early in the season, but like, he can do that kind of stuff. I remember watching him for the first time with the Capital City Go-Go when they played against the Mad Ants a couple of years ago in the G League. Okay.
I was like, Capital City Go-Go. Who's that?
Him and Jay Huff were teammates, both on 2As at the same time, actually.
Shut up.
I swear.
How do you remember this stuff? I don't get it.
Watching the G is fun, man.
The G? That's what we call it now, the G?
The G, man. Well, you get to see – this is irrelevant to most people. You just get to see guys in different contexts. Like, everybody who's in the NBA is a role player. They go down there and they're like the best or second best player on their team. So they're asked to do so much, and you learn what guys are capable of, right? Like that's why Jarris has a rep of like, oh, maybe he could be a lead initiator, because in the G League he just has the ball all the time and he's just like running through guys and getting to the basket. Like Furphy's getting to the basket all the time. I don't know. It's just different.
It's like Alize Johnson. You can have 30 and 20 every night in the G League. You bring it up to the NBA. It's like, what in the world is this guy?
If you're 6'10 plus and you can walk and chew gum, you can get a double-double. That feels a little reductive, but like every time a center gets a G League assignment, you look and they're like, oh, they had 15 and 12. Like they just do it. It just because that's the thing. They're not like, I don't want to be harsh, but like, look, they're not NBA players. They miss more shots. There's more rebounds, right? Like it just, of course, they're going to get a higher number. Do you have any specific thing in Pacers Thunder that you'll be keeping an eye on? First home preseason game for the Pacers. Game 9, Game 7, obviously the finals. Game 8 was Summer League. The Thunder are up 5-3, so important for the Pacers to try to get this one closer.
I'm interested to see the center rotation again. Like, how do they distribute the minutes?
Me too.
And who's playing with who? Like, I thought it was interesting because in Fan Jam, Jay Huff was primarily playing with the twos, and then in the preseason game, wait, hold on. Am I getting that mixed up? Was it James Wiseman in Fan Jam that primarily played with the twos? And anyway.
They split Wiseman Huff with the twos at Fan Jam. Wiseman did not play with any rotation guys in the preseason opener. Yes.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, because I was like, we got into the
him
fourth
and Huff
quarter.
were on the same team. I get how you got that confused. Yes.
Yeah. But we got into that fourth quarter in that first game, and I'm just like, James Wiseman played? And Pat Boylan was in studio with me. He goes, that's a good question. And then we both look over at the TV and we're like, he's in now. But it's just like, to that point, you just hadn't seen him. And I thought they would have tried to run him out there sooner, because I thought he was the guy that, they liked a lot. But obviously they really like Isaiah Jackson. I was impressed with the 9 minutes that he played outside of the obvious issue that's plagued him for the entirety of his career.
I want to see him so bad against the Thunder, because his first 2.5 minutes were just so bad. And then the next 7, I was like, okay, that's good. Like, do that. So what is he going to be against the Thunder?
Yeah, just got to knock off the rest a little bit there, Tony. It's been so long since you played. Yeah. And then obviously Jay Huff is the guy they traded for. So obviously they covered him in some regard. But yeah, I think that's still the top thing I'm going to be watching in the course of the preseason. Is like, is there any inclination on how they're leaning in terms of who's going to be the guys they keep? Like, does Bradley get into the rotation, or does he sneak onto the roster instead of one of the other centers? Probably James Wiseman, if I had to guess, because I don't think you want 2 Achilles guys on the roster. So, and plus Tony Bradley was with them last year and helped them in the playoffs.
Yeah, I said that this is probably, we'll see if this is something in their next game, probably. Because remember 2 years ago, Jordan Wara got preseason rotation burn and then like never saw the court again. And he was in the rotation. But like them going to Bradley when Jackson was in foul trouble and then not go to Wiseman until the fourth quarter, I at least was like, okay, let's remember that happened, right? I don't know if it matters yet, but let's remember that happened. Yeah, I want to see Jackson again. Like, is the rust knocked off? Is that a real concern? It's been a concern his whole career. Because if you're a starter, foul trouble is a lot more important than if you're playing behind Miles Turner for 15 minutes a night. Huff looks like he's not fast, but his lateral movements look nice defensively. We know he can make some shots. His passing's already, I'm like, okay, any concern anyone might have had about that's not a big deal. So there's still like some questions about all these guys, but I don't know what the right role is for anybody, quite frankly. And I think I know who I have as the top 2 and the bottom 2, but I also would like to see more of all the centers. And I hope that they mix and match a little more. I don't know if they'll do that in game 2 or they won't get to that till game 3. Especially if they're trying to build a new second unit again with a different point guard. But I would also like to see some of that.
I'm still interested to see how Neesmith's role adapts and changes. Yeah. Because he was, he's going to be asked to do a lot of different things. And he had a nice showing in the first preseason game. And it'll be interesting to see, like, does he get the ball in his hands more? And we see more of what had that unreal stretch of play last year where he was just attacking the basket all the time and everything was going in.
Yeah, if he can dribble toward the rim, like without a screen, oh boy, that's good news.
Yeah,
that's good news for the Pacers. Pacers, if they win this one, it'll be 5-4 going into the regular season. If they win both of those, the best of 11 could be 6-5 Pacers. But they've got to get this one. The Summer League drop was tough for their best of 11 hopes. I'm the only one who is. I'm the only one who's good. If they lose on Saturday, I will never talk about this again. This joke will be dead immediately. But I will pretend.
We got a 2K microwave badge reference. We got a Jordan Wara reference. So And we got a new vocabulary word I can't even say.
Which one?
The new vocabulary word for me. The one that you said earlier that somebody
yes.
tweeted you about Cam Payne. I can't even remember the word.
Yeah, mercurial.
I couldn't even spell it.
I thought you were about to say it back to me, so I was just staring at you. Okay, on that note, it's time for us to go. We'll learn more about the point guard outlook when games happen, but oh boy, not good when lots of injuries come at the same position for the Pacers. Eddie, where can people find you, the things you do and say about the Pacers, and now also the Indiana Fever, whose season ended at the hands of the champs, probably.
Let's hope. At Eddie Garrison _ on Twitter. That's where you can follow me. Of course, with Jake Query from noon to 3 on the Fan, and every night with Mark Boyle, Eddie Gill, Pat Boylan, and occasionally Eddie White on the Pacers Radio Network.
The radio crew. Every time I'm walking around the arena, in the bathroom, down low, I hear the radio crew. I love it. We'll be back after Pacers Thunder for a short one. I don't want to go too crazy doing a podcast on a preseason game on the weekend, but we'll do something. Saturday night. Eddie, thank you very much for the time. I'm sorry I badgered you like a jerk all week. Have fun not dealing with me out of Indiana for the next couple of days. Everybody back Saturday talking more Pacers. Till then, have a wonderful day.